day, everyone, and welcome once again to the Quantum Cafe and the Interstellar Lounge with your host here, the Cosmic Messenger. I am a Lightbody technician. I put all your metaphysical parts back into working order. Reiki Master Teacher. I also teach the certification courses in a form that I call multidimensional Reiki, which is the original Usui system of natural healing plus more. And I'm an aura scanning specialist plus a metaphysician. I hope everybody's doing amazing out there. Welcome if it's your first time to the channel. This is an interstellar hub where we can get together and talk about all the wild stuff that exists in the realms of multidimensional living, metaphysics, quantum mechanics, and all the wild stuff happening on planet Earth in terms of spiritual, energetic healing and beyond. Nice to have everyone here today. Now the eclipses, what a journey this has been. This has been pretty wild. We had the one on September 7th, which was in Pisces. And then we had a second one recently in Virgo. And then also was the day before the autumnal equinox, so the fall equinox. That's a rare occurrence when that happens. So this is like definitely a trifecta, a triple happening coming in. And the amount of shifts and changes and everything has been nothing but absolutely transformative on so many levels, and a lot of it has actually been quite intense at the same time too. So I'm really grateful that you're here, and I'm going to jump right into the subject today because I'm going to talk about three different things. We're going to talk first off about what is a stellar ascension cycle, which we're currently in. We're going to talk about the three primal sound currents that make up the universe. And then also a little bit about collective transmutation, because they all kind of go hand in hand into one. So, stellar ascension cycle, what is going on right now? So on Earth, we're in the process of raising the vibration and bringing Earth into 5D New Earth. And that requires a complete overhaul of our entire civilization and the ways that we do work on this planet. Every system that we have here pretty much is massively distorted, and this is about rewiring it so it matches those frequencies and moves with the planet as it ascends as well too. There's timeline splits, paradigm shifts, and all sorts of cognitive dissonance going on right now. Now, a stellar ascension cycle is when we come to a near peak, but it's the whole cycle as a whole of when we're deep into the photon band, okay? So I'm going to back step a little bit. So why is it so potent right now? Because on 2012 we finished the end of the Mayan calendar, which is extremely potent. We started a new cycle with that one. 1987 we had harmonic convergence, the global tuned in meditation, the first one of its kind in eons in this timeline, came into the fold to then bring in all of the awareness and expand the frequencies and prepare us for that gateway of 2012, which is like when time goes truly quantum, which it always was beforehand. And then the codes of all the sacred sites became illuminated once again so we could extract all of the different codecs and frequencies coming off of them. Now, this is about building new sacred sites on power centers, ones that aren't taken over by the matrix. So we take those essences in, and we can get the original codes from the previous ones that are there. And now I think it's come to a new point where maybe building some new sacred sites is on tall order. However, we want to make sure we clean up most of the distortions to make that happen. So we got end of the Mayan calendar, starting a new cycle, right? The cosmic clock that's looking down on everything from our solar system and beyond. And then we also have a 225 million year journey to this region of the cosmos. We're spiraling around and intermixing and interweaving a fractal of existence within the Milky Way galaxy. So we have that going on. And then we're in the photon band, which during the age of Aquarius and Leo are the only two times we enter that band. And Alcyone in the Pleiades is the gatekeeper. So that star is pinned with Earth. We are rotating and moving with it in unison. And we are the eighth sun of the Pleiades. And so when we move into those vortexes, the photon band is in Alcyone the whole time, whereas we're exiting it for the majority of our astrological clock that we go through. Now, during that time in space, once we enter the photon band, it slowly engulfs our solar system, which we're starting to get pretty close to the whole entire solar system being totally bathed in this photonic light. And this photonic light brings in a stellar ascension cycle. and the stellar ascension cycle peak for this region of the universe on Earth in 3D, the peak, the apex point, that came from 2017 to 2023 range, right? But that apex point is so powerful that the next few hundred years before and after are also extremely potent. They bring in those deeper wisdoms. The photon band says nothing can hide any longer, including your own stuff. Every little bit of shadow work, everything that's going on in the mass mainstream as well too, is going to come up to play. And it remembers our previous ascension cycle. And let's just say the last few times on Earth, we didn't quite get to where we were, maybe some of us were pointing our attention to as well. As far as the universe is concerned, Earth, everything is going to work out amazing. Gaia, Mother Earth, agreed to come down to this density in order for this to take place. There are currently 383 planets that are in a ascension process. Does not mean from 3D to 5D, but in some sort of planetary grid alignment as well too. So the stellar ascension cycle, plus we had the 144,000 star seeds, and they come in and make these 3 waves of indigo children, and then we have crystal and rainbow children and grail lines intermixing. We have humans turning on their various strands of DNA on the planetary vortex, right? A lot of humans are starting to activate the portion of their 5th and 6th levels of their light body, which there's 12, right? Which plug into the 12 dimensions of incarnational reality. And once we get closer to like the 9th and 10th stage on a regular basis, and we can keep those frequencies going, that is primarily enough energy vortex to then build the new dimension of New Earth as well too. But that also requires us to use eco-cyclical products. We're not beaming EMF all over the place. We're very mindful about all of our practices, and we're keeping that vibration high on the regular basis because it has been pushed down into this vortex. We can't really go any lower unless we completely blow ourselves up, which is a possibility always, and then you rise back up in the other direction. But the universe is infinite, and reality will continuously continue to exist. So when we bring in the potency, and then all of a sudden, that's why we have so much metaphysics happening on the planet right now. There's endless amounts of books, texts, modalities. Metaphysical modalities are sweeping the entire planet in this plane of existence and coming into form. So, I mean, that's pretty epic when you think about it that way. And it's this wave, this, finishing off Pisces and birthing the age of Aquarius, which is coming into form as we speak. And that's where things start to get really radical, right? And they need to get radical because it's been tyrannical for so long. And we also want to shift our entire inner landscape. This is going right down to a mitochondrial level, right? To reconstitute and retransfigure the various energy forms that are moving through our being. Not one, two soul is going to have the exact same journey, and it's going to shift quite regularly and often for a lot of beings. An incredible amount of emotions are coming out now, which are birthed in the 4th dimension, and we're really stepping in to rediscovering who we are on a deep soul level. Other souls may not want to take that journey, and that's their choice, but it's all divine timing as it is. It can just seem really dense at this time. There was a clarion call to come to Earth to really help move this vibratory field, because originally Earth was not in 3D. Okay? We utilize the 3rd dimension. The 3rd dimension gets a really bad rap a lot of the time. Same with the 4th dimension, the lower 4th as well too. But they're all useful. They all constitute and bring all of existence together as well. But we want to raise our light bodies up to the level where it's sustainable so that we can stay at a regular frequency. If you're constantly in the 12th stage of the light body, then holding like a physical form like this, really 10th, 11th, and 12th, and you're just primarily swimming there, it doesn't really hold physical forms in the ways that we're used to as well. But Earth is definitely not used to swimming in the 3rd or 4th level of the light body as well. So we have this big, potent ascension process going on. There's more communications with star nations at this time. And when other beings move their vibratory field, change the frequencies, and realize that energy work, allopathic medicine can stay around, but it needs to flip itself on its axis and really get rid of all of the toxins that are intermixed into its system, and then the both can co-create together. But we need to flip it around so that the all eco-cyclical natural medicines of the land and all of the healing arts become the main director of all of the healing processes as well too. Okay, so just throwing that out in the mix. And just a little like tidbit out there, I have not been physically myself to visit a doctor since 1998, and that's linear time we're talking about. So there's something definitely going on here. Now, in terms of doing all the energy work, now, if we break a leg, of course, that's a different scenario. Now, as we raise our frequencies and move through the vibratory field and shift our inner realm to match our outer realm, vice versa, it'll start to, encapsulate those frequencies. We realize that it does match up. However, as we're spreading that around, it's activating others to get metaphysicized. And then they begin to contemplate the realities, and that's where the energetics really start to get moving. It's quite profound. And so we're illuminating it that way. I think there's a few of us out there who would definitely like to see this process move a little bit quicker in terms of the ascension process. So really that's what it is. Ascension, we always think of it as going up, and up is better than lower. They're all equal. But the ascension process is really getting us up to a baseline where we don't need to drop so far into this density that we're in right now, which is just absolutely ripe with distortions. And we could still be in this density and not have as many distortions as well in the mix. And then this is where all the Star Nation information starts to come online. We feel the calls to multidimensional living. Suddenly we're attracted to things that are radically different than they were before. And then we realize that no matter what state we're in, it's our direct connection to spirit and however we want to view that spirituality. Whether it, there's not two pathways that are going to be exactly the same that are going to interlink that process. And now the wisdoms of all of the subtle bodies, metaphysical parts of the human energy field are really starting to come online at this point in time. So that's kind of why we're in the middle of an ascension process. We can have those happen at any point in time in cosmic existence on the planet. It's up to all of the humanoids and sentient creatures, because all the planets, all the nature on Earth, it all comes together. It's one unified field, right? We're not talking hive mind, but it's a universal consciousness. And so when we work together and bring that up into the field, then things change. They can change at any point in time, but we have a lot of cosmology and those energies bringing in the vitality for those frequencies to bathe the planet, right? It's just so many light codes everywhere we look every single day, and it's just what a journey this is. Now, the second one that I want to come on and talk about was also, I'm gonna go to collective transmutation second, and we'll talk about the sound frequencies at the end. Because collective transmutation, once we're going through this ascension process, then all this shadow work, all this density, all these intensities start to get rewired. That's what I mean when I say the transfiguration process. Things are getting altered and rewired on a consistent and regular basis. And so we feel more because our extrasensory perceptions are open, right? We're going deeper into our intuitive nature, our gut feeling, our insights, our third eye gets activated on a very deep level. You start eating crystalline foods and changing your reality. Your pineal and pituitary glands, they open, they decalcify. And thus, we pick up more of what's going on inside of the collective. And that can be even more intense depending on the level of what we're able and capable to absorb at this time. Not everyone is a collective transmuter. We technically all do it, but some beings, that's their specific role where they're actually able to handle a lot more of that. And what happens when you shift your energy field, you live your purpose, you come into your alignment, you're just more joyous majority of the days, you're not having attachments and judgments, you don't feel like you need anything to fill a void in your reality, you're completely content by yourself no matter what's around you, but you see the benefit of being in existence as a whole and plugging into that, then beings are attracted to your light, right? They come into the vortex and they go, ooh, you're vibrating high, I want a piece of that, right? So that's where the shadow work can start to come up. and then it gets attracted to that to help it be transmuted, or they want to learn. So many of us are, I've heard this term a lot, like I've done a lot of metaphysical work. I don't want to be the teacher in my relationships and my partnership. I'm done teaching. Well, we carry a lot of wisdom sometimes, and that wants to come out and share. But no matter what I say today or anything else you experience from any other human or the universe, take your own wisdoms and make your own voice from anything that's being shared. That's Metaphysics 101. This is about your journey. It is an influence of both energies coming into the field, but at the end of the day, it's your voice, okay? There is universal truths and things like that, but it's ever evolving and ever changing. So we have collective transmutation. It could be grief and fear and anger. It could be, I'm done with my job, or humans, sentient creatures, exiting the body, leaving, because it's so dense they don't even want to be here anymore, right? Or from some of their lifestyle choices. And it can make a lot of discordant frequencies. This is a temporary plane of existence where more will be unified after that process. So, if you spend a little bit more time solo, or you've found your soul community and you love being a part of it, all are equal in all of the mixes, right? But that collective transmutation means it enters our fields and we're just naturally able to take it into one form, use the plasma body, and then expand it into something else, right? Because if we didn't have the plasma body, then things would stay in one stagnant form and they wouldn't be able to mutate. And we want them to be able to mutate. But there's a polarity that comes with mutation. You can use it for the intensities, or you can use it for illumination of reality. And everywhere you go, you could just walk into a room, interact with these certain humans, like on no level other than just sitting in the room. You haven't talked to them, you're not engaging with them, you're not friends with them, you're not calling them up, the whole bit, and their intensities could come up around you. Vice versa, yours could come up when you interact with another human too. I know how that goes all too well, being a metaphysical activator. It just comes up into the field. It's a very wild experience being down here on those levels as well too, okay? So just be mindful that even if you're walking down the street and you suddenly feel a wave of something, it's about discernment. Is that mine or is that somebody else's? Right? Is that mine, perhaps, or is that the collective's? Because those waves of energy, if we were to take the camera and flip the switch and take off physicality for a moment and show everything else that's going on, there'd be sentient creatures all over the place. There'd be light codes filling every aspect of our being. It's pretty amazing. And then we would see a lot of the readouts and the transdimensional frequencies that are coming from everything that's illuminated or distorted at the same time, right? And it can happen subtle. Sometimes we get the transmutation process in these little tiny pockets, or sometimes we get them in these grander affairs that come in really big waves. And there's no rhyme or reason exactly. Of course there is. The cosmos knows. We are the cosmos too. But really, they're going to come in a whole variety of forms to keep us on our toes, entertained, and also helping with this transmutational process. If we keep swimming in the majority of our time being in distortions, from junk food to moving into other avenues of how we treat nature and the whole bit, right? We really don't even have a ceremony, at least in where I live, in this neck of the woods in North America, whatever they want to call it at this time. I don't think we really got much choice in choosing these names either. But we don't even do a ceremony before we bomb some trees down and build a house, right? It's just kind of like quick build and quick go, and then your entire civilization is filled with toxins from A to Z all over the place, right? Okay. So the collective transmutation process is big. You want to keep your aura cleansed, work with some potent crystals. If you happen to have tuning forks or some aura mists that you can spray around, they can be very beneficial for assisting that process as well too. You want regular cleansing. It doesn't have to be this arduous task. Sometimes even, 22 minutes, power numbers, right? And then just take a moment with yourself to cleanse those energies regularly, especially if you're a practitioner who does any form of the healing arts, or equal portions, you're working in service and service industry, and the density just keeps coming at you, and maybe you're totally awakened, but you're like, I'm here and paying my bills. That's something to consider too, that also needs to not build up in the auric field as well too. So we don't want any hooks inside of our operating system, right? Now, the third one I wanted to talk about today is a really cool one. It's called the 3 primal sound currents. They are called the unas, which unisi is like prime creator, God, great spirit, right? All that is everything that encompasses in the universe. So basically my take on it is, and everybody's take is totally unique, right? But great spirit, unisi, prime creator, all that is God, they basically just means everything that's ever existed, all intertwined into one. And we are it, and it is us, and we are a part of that, and all of it together makes up those various frequencies. Now, when we first differentiate from source, break away, we have what's called the 3 primal sound currents, or the unas. And these primal sound currents oscillate and move into the entire universe to create the universe that is always here and always will be. Or if that universe goes, there's another one that's still there. It's like a fractal, and it keeps on going. And so these sound currents then eventually turn into what's called the universal mind. And it wants to build things and create things. It wants to experience itself and see itself in a wide variety of forms. This is one giant space opera, and we can't get away from it if we tried. It's pretty incredible. So through this process of the sound currents coming out, they're inaudible at this point in time to the human existence and to a lot of sentient creatures, but we can feel it. We can see it operating. And when we learn to use sound in that kind of a way, our civilizations are going to change rapidly overnight. As well as we'll tap into some other previous civilizations, ones that came after, before, during, all in this now, have also utilized sound in a wide variety of ways. Now, these primal sound currents come out, and we're letting you know how the universe is initially created. And they're oscillating, and they're moving through everything. Then eventually we start to get the symphonies of the universe, which make up the sounds and the tones of each individual planet. And the seed tones, the I am seed, right? The I feel, the I know seed, right? Emanating out from the metagalactic core, birthing itself into there, so that we can plug into those various aspects into our psyche, into our consciousness, and into our being, so we can flow through the multidimensional nature of who we truly are. And we're connected to the universe, and they all make sound. That's why when you get away from all the white noise in the cities, when it's a super quiet day, if we're tuned in enough, a lot of humans at this time can hear tones and frequencies coming into their ear channels, the auditory bits. It could be a ping, or it could be a sudden tone, or it could be a symphony that comes in and makes sounds all together. Are we hearing Om? Are we hearing the planet Pluto? All intermixing into the field. And it's quite transcendental, actually. And so those sound currents make up those symphonies, which then start to interact with our body, mind, and spirit, and that eventually forms a light body. And then we go through the incarnational process, and these aspects get encoded into our being, and we come from these single cells on Earth at this time. That's how it happens. And then we are put through the birthing process, and we exit out of the canal. Now, working with those 3 primal sound currents are very important in the future, because there's a lot of beings out there. Why I wanted to bring it to the table in addition to what I shared is that a lot of beings want to just move straight to source energetics, rather than having to work through all of the different, basically, why do all these little steps along the way when you can just get right to the core source? Which that core source is still going to bring you to those steps along the way anyways. And we bring in that source energy, it comes in pure and undistorted. And we've been in distortions on this planet for over 250,000 years. So these sound currents help make up our Merkaba, the star tetrahedron that spins around us. It builds eventually the grid work for the sacred geometry and the DNA and all of those energetics to come forth. They are very powerful sound currents to work with during sessions. If anybody's needing to get back to source, the who am I, the I am seed, bringing it back to our essence and to our nature, the way to do it is to interconnect directly into the soul's vortex and plug into the oversoul and the complete identity, so we can get a roadmap of who we are from an undistorted plane of existence. And when we welcome in these frequencies on a regular basis, then we are able to bring in even more dynamic healing energy that expands everything out even further than ever before. It's quite fantastic. What a broadcast. Thanks for listening again, everyone. I hope everyone's doing okay out there. This concludes another episode of the Quantum Cafe and the Interstellar Lounge. Of course, as usual, I'll have my email or my website down at the end of the video. And if anybody would like to book a session, both in person and distance, or do some Reiki certification training, I am here to support. I do a lot of work with clients. I've been doing this work since 2016. And just to give you a little idea of how my sessions work, they're primarily on average, this is just an average scenario, an hour and 45 minutes. My healing space, called the Star Temple, is protected with a 5G bioshield. Clients in person drink reverse osmosis crystal charged water on a shungite plate, and then you get a full email report telling you all of the frequencies, transmissions, and tools that were used during the session, including acutonic space tuning forks, they're all planetary, crystals, vibrational elixirs, aura mist, sound healing, and you get to lay on a 5-therapy multi-wave mat. It's got a bed of crystal, sends pulse electromagnetic waves through the mat, photonic red lasers, far infrared, and it has no EMF because it's copper coiled as well too, and 1,000 times more negative ions per square inch. The transformations here are absolutely incredible. My hands go on the body, universal life force energy comes out, and then the soul starts to speak, and we get tons of messages. I work everywhere from physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. There's no place, if you've watched my videos, that I will not travel. So in person or distance, the sessions are just as potent. So please do reach out if you are ever contemplating wanting to book in a session as well too. I hope everybody has an amazing rest of your day. The next gateway and portal is going to be the 10/10 one in October, and we'll talk to you all soon. Take care, everyone, and have a most stellar day.